Paramount. You're live. Oh, we're live now. Okay. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Like, share, and subscribe. Hey, family, I didn't want to come on. Well, I did want to come on because, of course, we come on today at 8 o'clock. But, since I've been doing a lot of filming and stuff, we've been coming on a little bit late. But word is that we do have the verdict in the Derek Chavin's murder trial. And I want to basically go ahead and start the program today with this. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. We're not going to stay on that long. Like, share, and subscribe, family. Like, share, and subscribe.
And other members of the community. It has been painful throughout Hennepin County.
Hold on.
Throughout the state of Minnesota.
Guys. Let me get this straight.
And even the country. But most importantly, we need to recognize the pain of the Floyd family. I'm not going to attempt to be profound or clever because it's not the appropriate time. I'm not basing my sentence also on public opinion. I'm not basing it on any attempt to send any messages. A trial court judge, the job of a trial court judge is to apply the law to specific facts and to deal with individual cases. And so, Mr. Chauvin, as to count one, based on the verdict of the jury finding you guilty of unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony under Minnesota Statute 609.19 subdivision 2 paren 1, it is the judgment of the court that you now stand convicted of that offense. Pursuant to Minnesota Statute section 609.04, counts 2 and 3 will remain unadjudicated as they are lesser offenses of count 1. As sentenced for count 1, the court commits you to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 270 months. It's 270. That is a 10-year addition to the presumptive sentence of 150 months. This is based on your abuse of a position of trust and authority, and also the particular cruelty shown to George Floyd. You are granted credit for 199 days already served. Pay the mandatory surcharge of $78 to be paid from prison wages. You're prohibited from possessing firearms, ammunition, or explosives for the remainder of your life. Provide a DNA sample as required by law. Register as a predatory offender as required by law. And then you will receive a copy of the order and also the attached memorandum explaining the court's analysis. Anything further from the state?
If this needs to be said, we just ask that it be executed forthwith.
Defendant is remanded to the custody of the sheriff to be transported back to the DOC or whichever custody is currently holding him. Anything for the defense? All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Well, there we are. Derek Chavin at...
Okay, now, first of all, here's the thing.
So it's really...
Wait, hold on. Let me get these ads off. Here's the thing. Okay. Hit that thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Sorry for us coming on late. I was working on my film production schedule. So it tired me out and I went to sleep for a little while. So I know that we missed our blog talk call-in segment. So no phone calls will be taken. Hit that thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe to our channel, family. We are in the building tonight. As you just heard, this white supremacist judge gave George Floyd his so-called sentencing. Now, as you know, we have black men and women doing, specifically black men, that is doing more time in prison for smaller, lesser crimes like drug paraphernalia. There was an older black man. He just got out of jail after serving, I think, almost 60 years for a crime he did not commit. We have A lot of black men serve in jail for petty crimes that get way more years in jail, way more years in jail than 22 years for killing somebody. You see, the white supremacists are on code. They understand that the police is the enforcement arm of white supremacy. They understand that the police is all they got in order to maintain their control. You understand? So, having said that, they're going to make sure that the police is really not given any kind of real harsh sentencing, even when they are caught in the act or on video. And you have Mushmouth Ben Crump. He's the first one out there talking about the conviction is historic. 22 years for a crime by these thugs with badges is not historic. It is white supremacists being on coal with each other. And we talked about this in the black grassroots media. This judge needs to resign because he was on cold. There's no problem with with white supremacists being on cold. But black people have to understand is that of course you basically you see all of the big city lights and you got dreams, of course, and I understand that. But when those dreams are affected by you being up against white supremacy, what what difference if you don't have the right to experience those dreams? Or only a handful of us are only given the opportunity of justice or given the opportunity of pursuing those dreams, and the rest of us have to scramble and engage in all kinds of like struggles in order to in order to see other people making it. We stay at the bottom of every political, social, and economic issue here. You see, white supremacists are on cold. And this judge was on cold. This Judge Cahill, he was on cold. He was like, well, I am not going to, you know, he basically said, I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to scream at you. That's what he was basically saying. I'm not going to call you a predator. I'm going to do what a trial court judge do. And that's give the sentencing. Typically a judge will basically, this is his time or her time to yell at the defendant. Typically, when we see at these trials, especially when there's a black defendant, we see, you are a monster. You are a predator. You done this and you done this. And what you have done to such and such and such and such. Typically, we hear that at these trials, especially when the defendant is black. That's what we hear before the sentencing. That's what we hear. We hear all of this cruel stuff to the defendant. And everybody is looking at the defendant. And that's where the judge, at this point, tell him, you a convicted felon. And now since you're a convicted felon, then I want you to understand what you've done was barbaric. I want you to understand that a family sat here and grieve because of your actions. You are a monster and you don't deserve to get out of jail. See, typically we have the judges at this point that will give the true feelings of his own analysis. But Judge Cahill was on cold. He was like, no, I'm not going to basically talk about or even express what I basically believe about Derek Chauvin. I'm going to do what a white supremacist judge always do when a white person is convicted of a crime, and that is I am going to make sure that I don't show no sympathy or no remorse, but I'll give these itty bitty types of you know white splaining as to why I'm not going to talk to him like I do black defendants kind of talk. You understand? So this Judge Cahill is on cold. In fact, he don't need to be a judge, though. He really needs to step down here. Now, and that's okay that he didn't really do that. That's okay. Because what black people, they really, I had somebody on the comment page says that when these uh, police officers, go to jail, then the system will change. Well, that's basically, you're going to still get certain police officers who still get off, though. You see, we can't expect in a system of white supremacy that every police officer, every race soldier is going to get convicted or get charged. You understand? And so, therefore, it is really, really black people's fault. It's the civil rights generation. They had led us into this burning house. It's their fault too. How their children basically now is experiencing white supremacy, where we as their kids have been thrown to the woods, and our children, which is Gen X and the black millennials or whatever, have been thrown to the wolves, listening to the civil rights generation, listening to people like Ben Crump. You understand? Thumbs up, thumbs up. I'm not going to be here this long, family. I just basically I'm just doing a quick analysis on the case. And you had Jim Crow Joe Biden. He was out there talking about it's appropriate. You see, the white supremacists are on code. They understand that, okay, well, yeah, we'll give. We can sacrifice one white person. That's no problem. But what about us getting back on code, going out here killing these niggers? You understand? Just because you have one white person in jail and now y'all want to do a victory lap. You understand? Okay. But I am going to read Yahoo News. And I would give reporter Crystal Hill from Yahoo News credit for this, but we're interpreting the article of Ms. Hill. Judge sentences Derek Chauvin to over 22 years for the murder of George Floyd. Now, that is a lie right there. When you say over 22 years, well, you might say, well, it's 22 and a half years. Well, what the hell that means? It's still 22 years, He might do some days or whatever, but he's already been credited for 199. You see, that's the reason why you can't trust the white media. You got to always trust the new voices of black media. And sometimes we can be wrong too. Okay. But to analyze this, it goes on to say here that former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chavin was sentenced Friday to 22 and a half years in prison for the murder of George Floyd, more than 1 year after Floyd's death sparked an international movement against police brutality. And so the world really saw this. So the white supremacists knew that, okay, we got to convict him, but we can stay and maintain our arrogance in that conviction. We can tell all of you all, well, yeah, you convicted one of us, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to even apply white supremacy even more hard. And watch, you're going to have now the police officers, as you've seen, police officers are quitting. They're resigning. Like in Portland, Oregon, they quit the riot squad or whatever, but they're still on the force. They're basically getting upset and calling themselves under siege because they can't harm and kill black folks. And that's what they want to do. The article goes on to say that Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill. Now, look at this. This judge is on code with the white supremacists. He's on code. He really didn't want to give him 270 years. He really didn't want to give him these 22 years. That's the reason why he didn't do like other judges do. But when black defendants, man, oh man, they go out there and say, you're a monster, you're a this, you're a that. And therefore, nigger, I'm going to give you 50 years in prison. And nigger, if you even try to do an appeal, I'm going to make sure that that appeal is denied. This man have a right to appeal this. And don't be surprised when they find something on the appeal process that is that basically could get him to have a new trial. By, for instance, they can go so much as far as saying, "Oh, hey, guys, George Floyd's daughter was in there and she said something about, well, I missed my dad and the spirits is there. Oh, well, see, we're bringing religion into the courtroom. So therefore, that was not supposed to be in the courtroom and we have to keep a separate of church and state and we're going to appeal this." See, they're already on code. They're trying to find some way already to make sure that this man's uh, verdict get repealed at the circuit level. Okay, and a person who knows how this wicked court system works, oh man, they got all kinds of stuff um, up their sleeves here. But anyway, it goes on to say that Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill, who presided over the Chauvin's murder trial, handed down a sentence of 270 months for charges of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter, and Floyd's May 25, 2020 death. Chavin received a credit of 199 days served in prison. A jury convicted him of the charge on April the 20th. What the sentence is not based on is emotion or sympathy, Cahill said. But at this same time, I want to acknowledge the deep and tremendous pain that all the families are feeling, especially the Floyd family. You see, notice they're on code. In other words, this white supremacist family, they basically have tremendous pain. And you heard his mother speak. You heard the Karen speak. Yeah, no, I don't think that he should get this sentencing. It would be wrong. No, it's right. Well, it should have been more. He should have got 40 or 50 years. In fact, he should have got life. Understand? But you heard her trying to give these impact statements that really didn't mean a damn thing. And notice you heard Derek Chavin talking about there going to be more information as he was basically calling himself apologizing to the family. What more information that you got to give instead of just being right there facing the victim's family and telling them everything now? What, are you going to wait like years later and say, hey, I apologize for killing your son on some piece of paper? Is that the information that you're going to give? For you to basically show no emotion for killing this man, I basically, that would have been, I would have added additional years because you had no emotional, emotions. But yet, leave it up to Judge Cahill. Oh, there's a lot of emotions and sympathy and blah, 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 blah. So he was white splaining. He trying to make sure that everybody understand that there was emotions and the sympathies that's running wild on both sides of the aisle. And where did they find his drug addict mother to get her to try to then spare her son this sentencing? A lot of these Karens, they raise these kinds of these white supremacist police officers and white supremacists in general. They're basically, they know that their sons and their daughters are white supremacists when they come out there you womb. Okay, so for her to give this bull crap impact statement, please. But the article goes on to say I'm not going to attempt to be profound or clever because it's not appropriate time. See, that's where he's going to say, that's like when a judge, like when they give their impact and their profound statement, that's where he was saying, I'm not going to do all that. This is a white supremacist in front of me, so I am not going to talk harsh like I would a black nigger, or I mean, another defendant, other defendants. But it goes on to say that I'm not going to attempt to be profound or clever because it's not the appropriate time. I'm not basing my sentence on public opinion. I'm not basing it on an attempt to send any messages. Well, that's the first problem right there. That's the issue right there. You understand? A judge that is not sending any messages that a white supremacist cop killing a black person would get punishment for killing an unarmed black person. What you're saying is that, well, you may got a certain types of people who basically have gotten convicted, but there's going to be some race soldiers who is going to be allowed to kill unarmed black people. So by him basically expressing that he's not attempting to send messages to these officers, it's letting you know the white supremacists are on code. You understand? They understand that the police is the reason why they uphold a unfair and unjust system. They understand that very well. But let's read that again. He says, I am not going to attempt to be profound or clever because it's not the appropriate time. Okay? What judge say that when they're applying sentencing? Hell, if that was a black defendant, that's all the judges do at that time is speak in a way into which they, like I said earlier, they calling you the black defendant a monster. They're saying to you, and this is the time where they really get an opportunity to say and express their feelings as a judge. You see, but see, since the defendant is not black, he's going to say, well, I don't want to be clever, and I don't want to be profound, and we're not going to base this on public opinion. Now, notice when he said that we're not going to base this on public opinion, he's talking about, listen, look at this. This is the white supremacists still being arrogant. They're still being arrogant. You see, why you got Mushmouth, Ben Crump out there talking about this is historic. You understand? This is where the white supremacists is being arrogant. Well, although we got this white supremacist and given him 22 years, and I didn't want to give him that. I didn't base my sentence on public opinion. I'm not basing it on the attempt to send a message. That's an issue here. And that's why this white supremacist judge should have not been the person doing this trial, covering this trial. Now, there is some situation, or whether they claiming that the federal courts may also be looking into a past incident regarding Derek Chavin, this white supremacist police officer. They said that he was involved in another incident involving a black man. So this man have basically had a history of doing this, and he was going to continue to do this until he was caught and stopped, until those black folks came out there and basically report him doing this to George Floyd. Now, we're going to get on the family here in a minute. But I wanted to basically get what this judge is doing. He's sending a message to the other white supremacists. He said, hey, we're not sending a message to you thugs with badges that you'll be punished if you kill a black person or a helpless black man who can't breathe on the ground. We're not going to send the white supremacists that message. That's what he's saying to the white supremacists. He's been on code. You see, keep it right here, because the new voices of black media, they will break this down for you. And that's the reason why ScrewTube have been screwing up our channels, ScrewTube has been basically, they send me a community guideline talking about they're going to take my videos down, in which they did take one of the video down. They took, I think it was part one. No, it was part one and part two. They took down of some stuff that I said about this new science coming out there, challenging Dr. Fauci. But we won't go in there tonight. But here's the thing. Judge Cahill was on code. He's letting you know we're not going to sit there and you know and try to send a message to the white supremacists, these thugs with badges who keep on attempting to kill black, or who keep on killing black folks. We're not going to send no message. He was basically on code with them. Chavin faced significant prison time for Floyd's death. The most serious offense, second-degree murder, carries a penalty of up to 40 years in prison, according to Minnesota law. You see what I'm saying? He didn't give him 30 years. He didn't give him 35 years. He didn't even give him the max of 40 years. And like I said earlier, we got black men doing more time, 40 years, for petty crimes, for drugs paraphernalia. They're doing 40 years. You understand? Or more. Some of them doing life in prison will never ever be able to get out. So the second degree penalty carried up to 40 years, and he only gave him 22 years. Okay? The most serious offense, second degree murder, carry a penalty of up to 40 years in prison. So which is when he get out, where this man would be somewhere around 70 or 80, he can still see his witch of a mother after he get out. You understand? And that's how the white supremacists do for each other. They basically, number one, it takes them a long time to even convict these people. They never convict them. And then when they do convict them, when they try to basically do a sentence so that the white supremacists could get a parole for good behavior, and so that they can basically not do the entire sentencing, he'll be able to get out, after probably doing half of the sentencing. See, this is them being on call with each other. But it goes on to say here that the most serious offense, second-degree murder, carries a penalty of up to 40 years in prison, according to Minnesota law. The other charges, third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter, can result in imprisonment up to 25 to 10 years, respectively. Prosecutors wanted 30 years, while Chauvin attorney Eric Nelson asked for probation and time served. Floyd family wanted the max sentence. Okay, now, again, I'm glad that the Floyd family asked for the max, but when you get in bed with Ben Crump, you got to understand that if you don't seek justice before you get a check and visit with the president, then you bound to get a crazy ass lengthy sentence. Now, this is what we always talked about. See, white people is about individuality. Black folks, we have never been, before we met the Europeans, we have never been about individuality. So what they continue to do is they continue to take these black families and juice their head all up and basically get them aside and say, well, we're going to do this, we're going to offer you that, we're going to offer this, and blah, blah, blah. The problem with that and bringing attorneys like Ben Crump in to represent you is that you get a quick settlement, whereas the family then will look and say, well, okay, well, since I'm getting millions of dollars, they have no problem with the sentencing, nonetheless. Okay, even though that their statements might be that I want him to get the max, they're not going to get the max because you didn't apply full justice until you got the conviction, until you wait until what the years in jail would be, the punishing. But anyway, you see, this man could have got 40 years in jail. Prosecutors wanted 30 years. Now, I agree with the prosecution. Hey, if he got 30 years, well, I would have been somewhat satisfied. but I wanted him to really get the max 40 years in prison. Okay, but because what is showing is that if we can get these thugs with badges to be convicted and punished, then they would think twice about doing something illegal. As I told you, there is no, it's not a problem with being a law enforcement officer. That's no problem at all. If somebody attempts to shoot you, you have a right to shoot them first. You understand? But you don't pull out a gun, or you don't basically put your knee on their neck, you know what I'm saying, without and trying to say that I'm going to be careless and I'm a police officer and I'm a white supremacist and I have the right to treat a black person, just any way I can because nobody cares about this person. Well, they found out that a lot of people cared about George Floyd. It's what this thug with a badge found out. He found out that the whole entire world was upset about this. You understand? And that should be a lesson for the thugs with badges. But you didn't see Judge Cahill say that. You didn't see Judge Cahill saying that this should be a message sent to other police officers that this a tight, even though you have police officers who are admitting that this was wrong, you didn't have the judge who's supposed to control the police and say, I want to send a message to all other police officers that basically violate the law and violate people's civil rights. This was his time to say that. This was his time to basically say that this is bad policing, and I agree with other police officers that this is bad policing. And doing so, we're going to send a message to police officers that police like this. He had the time to say that right there during the trial. So what kind of message is he sending here? You understand? Because basically, everybody admitted, like I said, even police officers admitted that what we saw was not policing. Like I said, the police chief came out. You had other police officers around the country and said, we do not agree with this. But yet you had the judge, the white supremacist judge, that said, I'm not going to send a message to any law enforcement officer. Okay, but wait a minute. Every other law enforcement officer who did speak out is saying that this is bad policing, that this is not a part of the policy. So at least could he have said that we're going to send a message to any other police officer who stepped out of line in bad policing or outside the policy of the police? He did not say that in giving the sentencing. What he did is he left the door open now for other white supremacists to do the same thing. And 9 times out of 10, like we saw in the Breonna Taylor's case, these thugs getting away with killing and murdering unarmed black folks. He left the door open for that. And that's the reason why we believe that this judge is a suspected white supremacist. Let's go on and say this. And then we're going to now talk about this bootlicking fool, Keith Ellison. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, who led the prosecution of Chavin, said that the sentence is one of the longest a former police officer has ever received for an unlawful use of deadly force. Now that statement right there is problematic because now he is trying to say that just because he was the Attorney General, that he can brag about the 22-year sentencing. But this is the same dude who said that he did not want a harsh sentence, and he kind of felt sorry for this race soldier. We're talking about Keith Ellison, the former Muslim or whatever, or he claimed he was a Muslim. You see, when they get into the system, they get on cold with the white supremacists as well. Goes back, it says it's difficult to see anybody lose their freedom, Ellis said after the sentencing. But seeing someone lose their life through torture for over 9.5 minutes is incomparably worse. In the statement issued after the sentencing, civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who represents Floyd family, called the sentence historic and said it brings the Floyd family and our nation a step closer to healing. You know, by delivering closure and accountability. Now, number one, was not accountability, Ben Crump. This is not a healing. You see, this is the reason why we have a problem with these old civil rights people. There's nothing about healing among black people and white people just because one race soldier gets 22 years in jail. This is nothing. You understand? You're going to always be divided in this nation because the system of white supremacy is about white people being on top, black people being on the bottom. These kinds of the attitude of the white supremacists is, when they talk about being conservative, they're talking about all of the advantages that white people have already got, and those advantages maintaining with them, as opposed to black people never getting anything tangible for themselves, or for us as a race. That is how is this basically getting us one step closer to healing, and what he called by delivering closure and accountability. Folks, the white supremacist police officers never really get convicted. Okay? They only get these small numbers of convictions, and then when they basically do half of their time, they're already appealing to the parole board. Oh, I've been a good person in jail, or I'm sorry, in prison, and now I've been called up to get a parole hearing because I've already did 6 of my 10-year sentencing, or like in Chavin's case, I've already did about 9 or 10 years of my 22 years in prison. You see, they're on code. From the warden to the prison system itself, the warden to the court system, to judges, the police officers, the district attorney, you have all of this anti-black hatred among this institution. And it's not going to stop just because you recruit black cops, because sometimes black people in the system, they will basically try to impress white folks and white police officers in the system. And so therefore, they say, well, you don't see black here, you don't see white here, you see blue. And what do that mean? That means maintaining the system of white supremacy, and we can also use a black face to put on white power. Somebody talk black to me. But what we saw here and what we learned is that this is the quieting down moment for the white supremacists. Now, they might have taken a loss here. They might have taken a loss, right? But they are not worried about that loss at all. They're not worried about that at all, because all they're going to do is recruit more white supremacists. That's the reason why Jim Crow Joe Biden right now wanting to make 11 illegal immigrants legal, because their numbers are dwindling. So they need to basically have the white supremacist thugs now to basically recruit other people, other like people coming from Mexico, all of these folks coming into patrol communities that they know nothing about. That's their game plan. And so they're recruiting them to kill, to do anything they want to black folks. And so therefore this is spreading all over. You see, this Derek Chavin, basically, it was not even, he was not even shaken by the 22 years that he got in prison. He knew that hell, that most of the time that they're going to bring him all kinds of food and all kinds of other commissary. This man commissary is going to be so large. You understand? Because that's what police officers do. They look out for each other. These thugs with blue, They have the Fraternal Order of Police. They got the police union. When the police officers go to jail, you better believe that their commissary has a lot of money and a lot of resources within to it. And this is how they basically get down. Because when policing the black community, their whole entire job is to make sure that we stay under a system of oppression. Their job is to make sure that these niggers, that's the reason why the Capitol happened. You had the white supremacists from the right saying to the white supremacists on the left, okay, how are we going to control these niggers? These niggers calling themselves, going out here, flipping over police cars, and they call themselves going out here talking about some riot and revolt. How are we going to control these niggers? And you all better come up with some kind of solutions, or we will, you see. And you see that all of these people who had basically have violated the law at that Capitol is getting slaps on the wrist. That's white supremacy on code. Black people are the only one who does not get on code for nothing until it's already late, until it's time for us to get into these, and to really deal with the death or whatever. That's when we want to get on code. But 9 times out of 10, we out there shuffling and jiving and out there partying and stuff like that. Then when some race soldier killed one of us, you see, we got to, I'm saying? This is no wrong. See, this ain't about no justice. See, that's what we're talking to y'all. Y'all, see, man, man, I want to leave America. You understand? That's foolish. Man, you can't escape. You can't escape white supremacy. Fool, white supremacy is global. In other words, the white people spread it all throughout the country in order to maintain their economic system. So when you go to South Africa, they're really getting control out of the small white people that is in South Africa. Basically, all the white folks is controlling and running things. You just got one puppet person in office running everything. They're on code. And so, in a system of oppression, you got to understand that everywhere black people go, you'll find them at the bottom of everything. And that's just like the great scholar warrior Dr. Khalid Muhammad taught us. You got to look at this as being, wait a minute, why do every time I go to this places, black people are always living in this condition and white people are living in these certain elevated, conditions where they got a lot of money, benefits, wealth, property, and this is the stuff that this system is set up for them. It's designed for them to win. You see, white people, if they really, they will not be able to really challenge black people on an equal level playing field. That's the reason why they need the system, to help them. Okay, when the government came and they firebombed the people on there in Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that's the government helping them. You understand? When the black people were chased out of Wilmington, North Carolina, during Reconstruction, that's the government helping them. So white people have always had help in this system because they have a whole system that helps them, that benefits them. I mean, it's just like the black person and a white person. You can put them up together, but and you have the white person is holding on to the gate. So the white person who's holding on to the gate, he or she is able to stand straight because now the gate is holding them up. And this is a thunderstorm that is just real harsh and it's real just, barbaric. And it's just wind are just going and boom, boom, boom. The white person can stand up straight because that person have the fence. The black person does not have a fence. So every time she tries to get up, the wind pushes him back. And every time he tries to get up, the wind pushes him back down. And every time he gets up, meanwhile, the white person is holding on to the gate. That's how it is for black folks in this country. Okay, we don't have a gate holding us up so that we can benefit from whites, in the system. And so, therefore, that's the reason that why we are always in the same predicament. If you look 20 years, you'll still see black people are still talking about random things. I gotta go get my phone bill paid. I gotta go and get a job here. And how much it pays? Well, it pays 13 job. Oh, girl, you got a good job. You see, we are still talking about the basic stuff. You see, white people are talking about going to the damn moon. Like, come on, man. See this, but they're on code. They're on code, man. This judge, man, he was on code with this Derek Chauvin's case. He's on code. You got a lot of them, man. If you look at all of the police brutality cases that we've seen over the past years or so, man, the white supremacists and their bootleg Negroes are out here talking about you. This is the longest sentence that a police officer ever had. The 22 years. This is historic. Only a mush-mouth bootleg butt dancing Negro would basically try to brag on something like that. See, this civil rights generation has put us as black millennials and Gen X and all of the other and everybody else, black young people, in a very precarious situation where we deal with not only the anti-black hatred that we get from the white institutions, the colleges, the jobs, the other universities, or whatever the institution is. Instead of us with a plan that we had during Reconstruction, this civil rights generation taught its children to just basically lay down for these white supremacists and get nothing in return but social justice and hugs from white people. And this is what they basically is saying, okay, well, if y'all going to do that, are y'all children going to do the same thing? And the kids is like, hell no, we're not fit to lay down for the white supremacists. But even in a sense, but you look at the white supremacists, even in a sense that they are arrogant, even when they are sentenced. They don't care about getting 22 years in jail. You've seen other white police officers who convicted, like the ones in Chicago, and when they got that 10 years and they held their head up high, like, I am a race soldier for life. And as the bailiff was taking them into custody, you see how they were basically like holding their heads up high. You understand? They were basically making sure that they stand proud. You understand? Just like Amber Geiger. Amber Geiger basically was about to get football years. But then she started to basically show a little bit of emotion when the jury was about to give her football years. But since they seen that her Caribbean coon family started to then hug, can I give her a hug? You see, and then you had the black deputy playing in her hair. Girl, your hair good, girl. Girl, you got some good hair. Ooh, girl. Playing in her hair. You understand? Like this is a Barbie doll or something. And then you had the judge who was off code. Man, let's not get on Mammy Tammy Judge there in the Amber Geiger case. She was off code. She was letting the white supremacists know that we're going to have, after this conviction, we're going to have a crying celebration moment because we're not supposed to be convicting these thugs with badges. And so we're going to have a crying moment. And that's exactly what they were doing. This was a finesse that they were doing here. But back to the Chavin. 22 years is not historic in our book. When these police officers start getting life in prison for their crimes of killing an unarmed black person, that's when we could celebrate. You understand? They waited, and this is the reason why Judge Cahill waited for 8 weeks. He knew that he was going to try to find some way to squeeze in only just 22 years. Now the prosecution said, okay, well, since they were the sentencing phase You can actually give them up to 40 years if you want to, because of the aggravated, um, because of that power doctrine. You see, white people only use doctrine when it benefits them, and when it doesn't benefit them, then they don't want to apply any certain types of rules of laws. They always want to use rules and laws on you and say, "Hey, nigger, this is the rules and law that you must follow." But with them, they are on code. They have all kinds of ways to say, well, I'm not going to apply that, or I'm not going to speak to this white supremacist this way, or I'm not going to say or send a message to the white supremacists over here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to read the verdict as it is, you see. And you see, and like I said, this is the time into which you basically are reflecting up on a so-called historic moment. They were waiting for black people to calm down and to make sure that we get 8 weeks, and everybody basically is now going back and they're just waiting for the sentencing. They were waiting for the right moment to do this. But one of the things that I'm happy about the family at least did not do is that they did not go and want to give him a hug, even though you had that they probably were not able to touch them. Hell, if it wasn't for COVID-19, you'll probably have them trying to have little Gianna giving Derek Chauvin a hug. Now, if it wasn't COVID-19, but they tried to do little sneaky stuff like that in order for there to be some type of remorse. So then later, like I said, that these convicted thugs will get a parole hearing, you see. So Derek Chauvin said, well, there'll be more information. Like I said, what more information you need to give the family than what you should say to them while you're at trial and you've been convicted, you see. And so we have to understand that the family was okay, but they got invited to the White House and all this stuff. That's off code behavior. If I'm being invited to the White House, everything that me and Joe Biden is going to talk about is, hey, wait a minute, why is these thugs with badges not getting 40 and 50 years in jail or life in prison like you give a black man? Why is these thugs with badges, when they shoot unarmed black people, why is they not getting more punishing here? Okay, that would be the only dinner that me and Joe Biden will have when we're talking and having a discussion. It don't need to be that, oh, we're going to be partying and you niggers, y'all come on in and hey, and all this hugging and hey, no, 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 no. If you kill one of my family members, it's not going to be, hey, when can we all celebrate because this is historic? No, we're going to ask the question as to when are you going to punish this thug with a badge? When are you going to give them punishment? It won't be basically no back and forth talking and laughing. No, 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 that's not going to work. But I'm glad that the family of George Floyd stayed on task as far as at least saying that they, asked for the max. Okay, they didn't go off cold like the family of Bolton John and start talking about giving hugs and stuff. And hell, like I said, if it wasn't for a pandemic, they might probably would have done that, but they didn't. But they still asked for the max, which I'm glad. I'm glad that they maintained the maximum sentence. But we have to understand when there's a high profile case, you got to make sure, family, that you don't bring in attorneys like Ben Crump. Anytime that is a high profile black attorney, you know that there's some proposition behind closed doors because it's their job to appease us and to make sure that we don't basically um, get real justice. You have to be like what's the ladies, the girl who got shot, these thugs shot her. Ita Jefferson's father, he said, I don't want no hugs from nobody. He said, I don't want no kind of hug from none of y'all race soldiers in so many senses. He said, my daughter is been shot by this thug. I don't want no hugs. I don't want nothing from y'all. All I want is justice. See, that's the reason why they didn't put the camera on him, because he basically was the real one out of their family. But they always find a coon in the family. You understand? If one of my loved ones gets shot, I hope not. But you know, we have to identify who is going to be the coon in my family. You know, that's going to go around and talk about, see, all the Lord Jesus should say we love everybody. Sure, we gotta, and even though you're my cousin or somebody got shot, Lord, we gotta love everybody. You know what I'm saying? They can always find the coon in the family. They will always be able to find that. So that's the lesson as we close out, family. I said I was not going to be here this long, and I did. But ladies and gentlemen, understand something. Black family, understand this. Try to identify the coon in your family. You understand? Try to see that if this, God forbid that this happened to any of y'all family, and one of these thugs with badges, if they go and shoot and kill one of y'all, try to basically make sure that the coon in your family has shut their mouths. Make sure that the coon that the local media is going to try to then eke out and find, make sure that you get that son of a bitch out of town right now. Because they're going to have attorneys calling you. If it's a high profile case, they're going to have they're going to try to send Ben Crump out there to you, or they're going to have somebody else they're going to come to represent the family for free because they're already looking for a payday. Make sure that you've already identified the coon of the family. Whoever the coon is in the family, make sure that you identify them, because that's who the white supremacists and their media is going to target. Because because when you see all these shootings and killings of black people, they always find the coon of the family. And you got, and 9 times out of 10, you got some black person, some black person in your family talking about, Lord, now I know this is wrong, but see, the Lord say we gotta love everybody, and God have mercy on this white supremacist who shot and killed my cousin. Lord said we gotta love each other. No, no, no. Always find the cone in your family, the one who they're gonna go after, and basically try to get them to be on their side. They're going to try to, and because the coon in the family, they're going to be the one who talk about all the rioting and the protesting out there, and all of them flipping over police cars. We don't want that to happen. Okay, please note, if they ever shoot and kill me, let it be known, okay, that I do not want there to be all of this cooning. Okay, when they was like, if I was alive, I would want the people, the public, to turn up in the streets. Do you understand? I would want there to be constantly riots and revolt. Okay, why? Because Dr. King said that riot and revolt, that is coming from the people who are unheard. Nobody gets to talk to those people who basically is in the grassroots. They don't get to go on Fox News or CNN and all of these other types of white supremacist news outlets to speak their truth. So let it be known, if something ever happened to me, I would want there to be riot and revolt. You understand? And I want it to last 30 days. You understand? If something happened to me. Do not have my family out there talking about, shoot, he wouldn't want this. He wouldn't want all of this trouble in the street. He wouldn't want there to be no burdens of these stores, these CBS and Target. No, he wouldn't want that at all. Yes, I would. Riots and revolt. That is the voice of the unheard. That's what Dr. King said. I don't want no bootlicking Negroes in my family talking about, hey, now lawyer wouldn't want all this stuff. Now, y'all, come on now. Y'all stop all that. And that turning over of fleeting police cars and stuff. No, sir, now. He wouldn't want all that. No. Okay? And don't tell them to talk about all of this people of color stuff. Against it all. Riot and revolt. I am going to basically now close out our section here. Thanks for staying up late with me. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that like button. Share, like, and subscribe. Peace. Yeah.